Hello and welcome to town. We're going to be starting a new series today called The 5 W's, which will explain the who, what, when, where, and why of that particular piece of media. If you're interested in buying a new game and have no idea what it's about, or maybe you played that game and still have no clue what's going on, this series is for you. Today's episode will focus on one of my favorite franchises of all time, Silent Hill. Just in time for the upcoming release of the Silent Hill 2 remake, supposedly coming out later this year. Today we will focus on the first game in this series, aptly named Silent Hill. Released on February 23rd, 1999, Silent Hill helped change the horror genre and gaming forever. Who? In this first installment by Team Silent, you play as the main protagonist, Harry Mason. Not much is known about Harry, except that he is a writer, loving father, and had a wife named Jody. In the Japanese novelization, Harry is shown to have a fear of murderers and kidnappers, so he keeps a handgun in his Jeep's glove compartment for self-defense. This fear would leak over into his writing, where he published the book The Criminal's Mask, which is an analysis of offenders who go unnoticed in society under the guise of being normal citizens. These fears molded Harry into the protective father you see in Silent Hill. When he was 25, the two found a baby on the side of the road who they adopted and named Cheryl. Not long after, Jody suffered a fatal disease and died. Cheryl was all Harry had left, so she meant the world to him. When Cheryl was 7, she convinced Harry to take a trip to Silent Hill, when nothing would be the same again. What? So what's going on? While Harry is driving Cheryl to Silent Hill, a mysterious woman suddenly appears standing in the middle of the road, causing them to crash. You wake up in Cafe 5-2 and befriend the only other person who seems to be around, a police officer named Sybil Bennett. Now Sybil is a badass, who does make an appearance in the freaking awesome 2006 Silent Hill movie, played by the wonderful Laurie Holden. Harry splits up with Sybil and heads back to the alley he was at in his dream, and in true Silent Hill fashion, you find a sketchbook that says, "To School." After exploring the school and conquering the nightmare version, he heads to the local church where he meets Dahlia Gillespie, a priestess of a cult simply referred to as the Order. Speaking in riddles, Dahlia pushes Harry to head to the town's hospital, Alchemilla Hospital. Here, Harry meets Dr. Kaufman and a young nurse named Lisa Garland, both who seem to be hiding more than they let off. You end up going to an antique store, down into the sewers, of course there is a sewer level, this is a survival horror game, up into the resort area of the town, and finally ends with Harry being transported to the Nowhere. Depending on what you did throughout the campaign, this first installment started the trend in the series of having multiple endings. The true canon endings are known as the Good or Good Plus endings, which continues its story arc into Silent Hill 3. When? Unlike games where a calendar on the wall is a hint the developer gave to have an idea when the events take place, in-game textures were never confirmed by Team Silent to be canon to the timeline. Of course, exceptions like documents discussed in the history of the town or the cult are obvious direct lore drops. It is never directly stated what year the first game in the franchise takes place, but we do know it's 17 years before the events of Silent Hill 3. Let's examine Harry Mason's Jeep that he drives and crashes at the beginning of the game. After some research, I found out it matches the 1986 YJ Jeep Wrangler. Awesome, now we have a date to compare items to. Now let's take a look at the pocket radio, one of the main reoccurring items in this franchise. When enemies are nearby, you start to hear static as a type of warning. Google searching simply 1986 pocket radio, we get results that look very similar to Harry's red one he gets at the cafe. Later in the game, when you are trying to survive and escape the Nightmare Hospital, you find a VHS tape on a table which you later watch in a VCR. So this would definitely take place when VHSs were still relevant, which gives our late 1980s theory more ground. Where? Well, this is an easy one. It takes place in Silent Hill. But where exactly is Silent Hill? Luckily, we are given many sources to where exactly our happy little purgatory vacation spot is located, and that is Maine, New England. This made perfect sense to me because Team Silent is clearly a big fan of Stephen King, who is from Maine and bases a lot of his stories in places like Derry, Maine, where Pennywise from It resides. Looking at the manuals that came with Silent Hill Origins and Silent Hill Homecoming, they also directly mentioned that the town is located in New England. An important location you eventually go to and revisit in other installments is Midwich Elementary, located on the southwest side of Old Silent Hill on Midwich Street. This is where Alessa Gillespie attended, which is why you were led here. We'll talk more about her soon. Why? So why would Cheryl have such a random urge to come to Silent Hill? It all has to do with the local religious organization known as The Order. 7 years before the main events, there was a young girl named Alessa Gillespie in town. She was born gifted with supernatural powers that the Order seek to take advantage of. Sadly, she was bullied and called a witch for possessing such gifts at the school she attended. It is her lone desk you encounter in a classroom at Midwich while exploring as Harry. Alessa's mother, Dahlia, was a member of the cult and saw her daughter as potential to birth a god. There is no mention of who Alessa's father is. From a young age, Alessa was raised as part of the Order, being forced into its beliefs and ideas. She was no safer at home with her mother Dahlia, who would lock her in the attic for any thoughts or acts against the Order. When Alessa was 7, she began to retaliate, not wanting to be the vessel to birth God. Dahlia then decided to take action into her own hands and perform the sacred ritual right in her own home. This involved burning Alessa alive. It was unsuccessful. The god was not birthed, and Alessa now suffers with third-degree burns all over her body, barely clinging to life. After all this torment, Alessa's soul shattered in two, one being the good part of her that remains, which became the baby Harry found on the side of the road with his wife, and the other being all the evil dark parts of her mind, warping the entire town into the fog-filled monster roaming purgatory we know today. She was then taken to Alchemilla, where she was kept in the basement like a dirty little secret for 7 long years. Alessa was kept in excruciating pain, and Dahlia would eventually use a summoning spell to summon her other half back to Silent Hill for another attempt at birthing God, thus leading to the events Harry never asked for. We are excited to make future 5W videos featuring the rest of the games in the franchise. Please give us a like and subscribe, and hope everyone has a great day in their happy place. Bye!